So I understand that this shir is going to be in English. That's what I was told. So I will speak in English. Is it time already? Yes, it's 9:15, right? So I'm going to talk about a shtar. A shtar is a document. Now, a document in any legal system, and halacha is not different to other legal systems in this sense, a shtar is a magical object, meaning it's an object that has certain ramifications that go beyond the object itself. It contains something that is not physically there. What exactly it contains. So first let's start with the name of shtar when we're talking about shtar in the Torah. What does the Torah call the shtar? In the Torah we don't find the word shtar, but we do find, some of you I'm sure know, we do find another word pertaining to what will later be called a shtar. What is it? A sefer. A sefer. Now today when we say sefer we talk about a book. But when the Torah talks about a sefer, it doesn't talk about a book, but about a document. Now, why is it called a sefer? Now, why? Yeah, but why sefer? Well, what does the word sefer mean?
Describe.
Sorry?
Describe.
Yes, it is so. But why a sofer? Right? A sofer writes a sefer, and a sefer is. So, sorry? Sipur, right? So we are mesaper b'yetziat Mitzrayim, meaning this object tells me something. It tells me a story. Now, story is not exactly a translation of sefer. If we want to really get into the etymology of the word, a sefer, lesaper, and lispor are very close as well. So when I'm sofer, what do I do? When I number something, I put something in order, right? Which is also a story. And a story takes certain facts, right? It takes all kinds of elements and puts them in a certain order. That's what we do when we count, when we number, when we tell stories. That is what we do. So we have here an object that puts things in order. Somehow it tells us something that puts things in order from this object. Now, how exactly does he do it? Meaning, he takes objects and he puts them in a certain order and is in a certain relation to one. The object in a certain relationship to one another. Now, how exactly this object tells that story? So I'm sure one way is very simple, right? And how does the shtar tell us a story? A document, how does it tell a story? It's written, right? The story is written in it. So it's, right? It tells us a story because the story is there. And now the magic is that we treat that story as fact. And therefore we act accordingly. That's the magic of it all. That is only part of the story that it tells. There's another part of the story that this object tells us that is not necessarily written in it. What's that part?
Intentions.
Sorry?
The intentions of the writer?
The intentions, well, the intentions are not written there, but they're implicit, but I understand it from what is written there. So that is not exact, but there is something else. Part of the story is not what is written and not implied by what is written, but is determined by something else.
The system that you're operating in.
The location of the shtar, I would say. The location, meaning who's holding on to it. The possession of the shtar is part of the story. Now, just in order to make us understand what I mean, with a shtar, there is the story, there is what is written, and then there is the question of who's holding it. And who's holding it is also part of the story. because we have objects that no one is holding, nothing is written in that object, but the fact that someone is holding it tells me something about it. Now, first of all, any object, my legal assumption is that when someone is holding on to it, it's theirs. But then there are objects that if I hold on to it, it tells me a story about something else. Not about this object, but about some other object that may be connected to it in some way. For instance, I'm holding a key to a home. That tells me something, right? What does it, right? The fact that I'm holding a key to a home tells me a story, or at least indicates a certain story. So also holding a shtar, the very fact that I'm holding on to it, tells me something. So let's say if we have what is called let's say a deed of sale or a debt instrument, if I'm holding on to it, it tells me something, right? Okay. So these in these two ways, the document is telling me a story by what is written in it, and by the fact that I'm holding or someone else is holding onto it right now, because then I assume, okay, if I'm holding onto it, then I assume someone gave it to me. If someone gave it to me, it has certain implications. Okay. Now, we will see, and we will soon see, in halakha, the shtar doesn't only tell me a story, but it actually also, how would you say in English, mechonen? Mechonen establishes the story, or makes it happen, right? So let's say the first shtar that we read of in the Torah, Sefer Kritut, you said, right? So the Sefer Kritut,
it executes an action.
Exactly, it executes an action. It also, it is not only, it doesn't only tell me the story, it plays a role in that story, right? When a woman comes to Beit Din with a get, then that get is a get because it was given to her. It tells me the story of that this was given to her. It says, yeah, Reuven divorced, gave this sefer to Leah, and now Leah comes with it to me, and I say, okay, the fact that it was given to you, that gave it its power, because if Reuven is holding on to this shtar, then it's just a piece of paper. It wasn't executed. Meaning that the shtar needs to be executed in order to contain its magic. So its magic is contained in it only when it's held by the right person. Now, these two relations, these two aspects of the shtar, these two aspects of the story that is written and the story that is not written play a major role in understanding how a shtar operates and what exactly it does. Because what I want to do here tonight is to try and understand the magic in this shtar. Like, why does it work? Let's say, yes?
Sometimes it facilitates, sometimes it just documents.
What do you mean by that?
If I lend somebody money, having a shtar or not lending a shtar doesn't facilitate him having the money. This just documents who owns the money. Whereas a get affects the separation.
Okay, so you assume, let's say, I write here that I owe so-and-so $100, and I hand it to you. What's your name?
Yitzchak.
Yitzchak. I hand Yitzchak a document that I owe you $100. I owe you $100, maybe. Yeah, we can make an assumption. Okay, now, I might have done that because you gave me $100. But the shtar works even if you didn't give me $100. Or maybe it doesn't.
Well,
We don't know at this point.
depends on how far you got in double back.
Okay? Well, it could be a machloket.
Yeah.
But, yeah? Okay, so a shtar, but yes, what is true, and we'll get to it, there is a shtar re'aya and there's a shtar, and a shtar kinyan. Meaning, there is a shtar that, I said before, that a shtar tells me a story and also it also establishes a story. There are shtarot that are more they're more significant as establishing a story than telling me the story, and then there are shtarot that are more significant as telling me the story than establishing, but it's not to mean that they exclusively establish or exclusively tell a story. Meaning, even with a shtar halva'ah, it tells me a story, but it also establishes a shi'abud, meaning an obligation. Now, an obligation is an actual obligation towards one's property, meaning if there is a shtar, if you have a shtar for me that I owe you $100, then my property, then basically you have a right of $100 to my property, and there are implications to it, because if I now sell my property, you will be able to go after that property wherever it is. So even though this is a shtar re'aya, right? It's a proof that you owe me money, but it also establishes something here, and vice versa. A shtar that is a shtar kinyan, what we would call a deed of sale, right? What is that? It is a document that is given from, let's say, I own a certain property. I write this property that belongs to me is now being sold to so-and-so, signed to edim. I hand it to so-and-so. That handing of the shtar also moves the property from my ownership to his ownership. So this is a shtar kinyan, but immediately this shtar kinyan also serves as proof that this happened, meaning he's holding it, and later he'll take it out at Beit Din as a re'aya, as proof, as telling me a story. So it is true that some shtarot are more significant because they establish a story, meaning he doesn't need that proof unless in a few years someone would come and say it never happened. But in theory, he could take the shtar, tear it to pieces, throw it to the garbage, and the field is still his. Nothing happened.
Does the shtar alone establish ownership? Or do you need
yes. So a shtar alone establishes ownership. That is, it's one of the kinyanim in real estate, not in movables, but in real estate. Shtar is one of the kinyanim. There are three kinyanim: either payment, the exchange of money establishes that when it's done. One moment, when it's done in front of two witnesses, establishes ownership on real estate, or chazakah, the fact that I'm holding on to it for 3 years. Holding that is not for 3 years. That is a raya. The fact that I came to a house, I changed its door, I put a fence around the property, something like that, meaning I did something to it. I plowed the land. That establishes a kinyan and a shtar. A shtar is one of the ways.
Is that Agad, or is that the shtar
No,
itself?
the shtar itself. So let's say I want to sell. Let's say I own this room. I want to sell you this room. I'm selling you. I give you the document. Me giving you the document, that's a kinyan that gives you the room. Yes.
The shtar is worthless unless you have a beis din that's willing to enforce it.
Well, that is true to any law, right? That is true to any law.
Any kind of shtar, you need a beis din to enforce it.
But that is true to any law, not only shtar. That is true, right? And to any system of law, right? If I have a check, if I write you a check and I give it to you, if there is no legal system that will enforce that check, you could go fly a kite with it. It's worthless. So that's a statement that is true to anything. But we're now discussing within the legal framework of halakha, assuming how does it operate when there is under such a legal system. Okay. So now my first question is how exactly this works. What do you mean? I write something on a document and I give it to someone, and somehow it makes something happen. So a husband writes on a document, "This is a divorce bill to my wife," and he gives it to her, And the fact that it says it's a divorce bill, coupled with the fact that he gave it to her, makes them divorced somehow. How does, but how? How exactly? What does that? What is the nature of this paper that it makes it? Like how? What is the mechanism behind this Gzerat HaKatuv? That is exactly my question. And similarly, yes, I write that this field of mine now belongs to so and so, and I give it to him. That makes it his. Like how does that magic work? Because I didn't give him the field. I gave him a piece of paper that says something about the field, and that, because if I told him, see this room, it's yours now, and there are two Eidim who see that, nothing happened, nothing happened. It's just a statement. A statement doesn't create reality, but somehow a document that moves from hand to hand creates reality. And that is my first question.
Intention?
Sorry?
Intention of the party to transfer the title.
Okay, so you say there has to be intention, but what if there is intention, I'm sincere, I say I'm really sincere in my words, look at, sorry?
It has to be capacity as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I have the rights to this, and I tell you, listen here, this room I'm giving you, it's mine, that doesn't make it yours.
No, but if you did that, if you did say, make that statement, and then the person went and hit the wall in front of witnesses, and this whole thing happened in front of witnesses.
So that would have made it his.
That's a chazaka.
The chazaka. Right, that he did it in front of them, and I was there, and I was okay with it.
Public awareness is the difference here. Where's his shtar?
Okay, we'll try, okay. You're saying things that are right. We'll try and establish it in a certain way. You'll soon see how. So before we get there, there are certain halachot pertaining to a shtar. The story has to be such a story that I'm able to that is believable, that is trusted, right? So halacha makes sure that the story behind the shtar will be trusted. How do we do that? So first of all, there are eidim involved. There are two witnesses involved in the establishment of a shtar. Now, why didn't I say that they're signed on the shtar? Because that is a machloket. There is a dispute in the Mishnah. Exactly. Do the witnesses actually sign the shtar, or there are two witnesses that are there that witness the handing of the shtar, and that's good enough. Meaning, in that sense, I have to have so I have a document that I wrote, or a scribe wrote for me, for that matter, and I hand it to whoever I want to hand it. There are two Eidim that are there, that are present, that see it happen, and that establishes, that gives it its power. Or some say, no, it's not that they're there necessarily. Maybe they don't even have to be there. Okay, let's say I want to sell my again, let's talk about this room. I want to sell this room to you. So what do? I write a document, and now I hand it to you. So so there is one opinion, that is of Rabbi Eliezer, we'll soon see, that the two witnesses need to see me giving you the document, and then there is an opinion that no, you don't have to have witnesses that see it happen. When I write the document, I'm giving my field, either I'm gifting it or I'm selling it to whoever it is that I'm selling it to, then they witness that I wrote the document by signing it. That's all they witness, and then they go home. Then, a few days later, this document appears in the hand of someone else who says, yes, this document was given to me. And it has his name as the recipient of the document. No one saw me giving it to him. But he says, yeah, here, I have it. So we assume it was given to him. And the Edim, they signed what? Not that I gave it to him, but that I wrote the document, so that I meant to give it to him. So we connect the dots. We say, I meant to give it. Now, right? He's holding it, so everything's okay. So that they don't necessarily need to be there when I hand it to them, but they have to give testimony to the fact that I had the intention of giving it to him. How do I know? Because I wrote it. I'm going to give it to him. Just a minute. Okay, so the document given over under the chuppah, we do that, but the main witnesses are those who sign it. For those who sign it, they don't necessarily have to see the handing over. We do it under the chuppah, so we do. The two other witnesses that are under the chuppah, they're there to see the giving of the ring. Yes, that's what they're there for. Okay, that is the important part. But already, then we also give the ketubah under the chuppah, so everything there. We do that with witnesses already as well, but that is not because we don't rule like that a day mesira karti, but that a day chatima karti. But today we do everything just in case.
In the case with Rabbi Eliezer, where it's just mesira that they have to see, do they have to have read the document to know what they're giving?
That's a very good question. We assume they do. But if they didn't, it still might be kosher. But that is a whole sugya. Okay. So the two edim is an important aspect of the shtar, and then another aspect to make it believable or to make it trusted. It has to contain certain information, like names, a place, and usually. Names, usually also a place and time, okay? That this document was written in this place and that at this time. Now, the place and the time not always are there, and even if it's not there, it might be okay. Give me an example of a document without a place and time that works very well. Sorry? No, a get has a time and place, usually. Yes. Sorry? Document that we use today. Not anymore. Today we have credit cards and phones. We don't. But you remember paper money? Mm-hmm. Paper money is actually a document, right? Well, it then became a thing in itself, but when it started as a document. You could have taken that paper and go to the bank and get real money for it. Right? Or gold, or whatever it is that the central bank would have given you. Here in Israel, they would have given you dollars. You know, it used to be in the 70s, if you came to even in the 80s, I think it was like that. If you came to here, they would give you dollars, and in America, they would give you gold.
Many years ago.
Yes.
They were called silver certificates.
Yes. Silver, then gold.
Gold certificates.
Yeah. So it's actually a document that basically says, I owe you, exactly. Doesn't have time on it, doesn't have a date, doesn't have, so documents also in halakha, they don't always have to have a date and location, but usually they do, okay? But they always have to have edim, either mesira or chatima, depending on the different opinions, and they have to have the name of the person that is obligated himself, right? If it says something without a person, then it doesn't mean anything. Okay. And, of course, the material. It has to be written in a way that you cannot forge it, right? If it's written in an ink that you could erase easily and put something else, or is it's written in a way that or on paper that you could play around with, that's a problem. Okay. back to understanding how it works. In order to understand how it works, I want to look at a specific sugya that we learned lately in Baba Batra in our perek. Now there are a few machlokot in regards to shtar. One of them I discussed, question of Eidei Mesira or Eidei Chatima. Now think about it. Think about it this way. Before I spoke about the two elements of the shtar. It tells me the story. It tells me has two parts. It says what is written and also by who's holding it. Then that together tells me the story. Now, if I say Eidei Chatima Karte, then what story do I emphasize with the shtar?
Written.
The written story. If Eidei Mesira Karte, what part of the story am I emphasizing? Who's holding it part, right? Okay. Then there is another machloket, and that is, do you remember if you learned the last perek of Baba Batra, there is a machloket that is mentioned here, that is mentioned in other parts of Shas, and that is if otiyot niknot bimsira. What does that mean? Otiyot, can I transfer letters by handing over? Now, we're talking about a document, and now the question is, I have a document that says that Ilan owes me 100 shekel. Okay? Let's say I have such a document. Now, sorry. Sorry. I have such a document that says, I was afraid maybe it really says it, but it doesn't. Yeah. Okay. So I have a document that Ilan owes me $100. Now, I take that document, and for some reason, I want to give it to Michael. Now, let's say it's because, I don't know, maybe I want to give it to you as a gift. I don't have $100 to pay you, so I tell him, look, I have here a piece of paper. No, this is a piece of paper, and it says that Ilan owes me $100. I'll give it to you. Now you have it. And now it's going to be yours. Okay. What now? So who owns the piece of paper? Michael owns the piece of paper. Because I gave it to him. He owns it. Who owns the debt?
You.
I do. But that's what I wanted to give him. I wanted to give him the debt. So that's the machloket. When I give him the piece of paper, does that include the story that the piece of paper says, or that story has a life of its own? And if you mislocate the paper, the story jumps out of the paper and stays where it belongs. Okay? Yeah? Because the story is not in the paper, right? It's just said by the paper. So it could be so the question is, but I want to give the story to Michael. I want to give him the debt. How do I do that? How do I do that? So handing this is not enough. So, or maybe it is. So Rebbe says, it is enough. If I hand Michael the paper, now since he owns the paper, whatever story that is in it, now belongs to Michael. Right? Now you think, just a minute, but it has my name on it. How? It says that Ilan owes me money, and now somehow Ilan will owe Michael money. How does that work? Well, do you remember that element called checks? Yes, used to be, right? Right? If the check wasn't crossed, you could give it to someone else, right? Right? It works. It works. You give someone else a document, it doesn't matter.
You actually endorse it at the back.
True, right. But, okay, so...
The only problem is, with the debt that you have, a third party can come and attach you to take away the money from him.
So that's...
Which leaves him in the cold.
That's another story. You're right. We'll have to deal with that. But right now I want to understand how, I want to talk about this document. So Rebbe says that is okay. Chachamim say, no, that's not enough. I gave him the shtar, The story doesn't belong to him. How do I pass the story to him? How do I pass the debt to him? I have to take another document. I could do it on the same piece of paper, but not necessarily. Or on the other side, whatever. And I write, this shtar that I'm handing to Michael, I'm also handing him the debt contained in it. And then I hand it, and then it works. Why? Why if I didn't write it, it doesn't work? And if I did write it, it does work?
Essentially, it's a new shtar.
Sorry?
Essentially, it's a new shtar.
It's a shtar that says what?
Creates the
but I don't owe him anything. I don't know. He can't come to me with that shtar. He comes to me with that shtar. Hey, look what you sold me. I say, yeah, well, it's yours. What do you want from me? He only could go to Elon with it. But how me writing him something made him be like, what exactly did I do by writing that? What exactly happened here? So that is my question, and by trying to figure out that, maybe it will tell us something about the nature of shtar. Yes? If I hand him Rebbe, I understand. Rebbe says, if I hand Michael the piece of paper, now whatever is contained in it, I established that it contains this magical element to it, and I gave it to him. Well, I gave it to him with that magical element to it. The story, the debt, whatever it is, belongs to him. But according to Chachamim, they say no, you can't just hand it and it will become his. The story is not his. But you know what? Write that you mean to give him that too, and then it is his.
An original intention can't be changed unless it's changed in writing.
Yeah. Yes. But why? Why? How does that work? That's my question. And I'll tell you even more. What happens? This is a question that I'm asking now, according to Chachamim. Yes. So we said I need to hand him the shtar and write a shtar either on this or separate, doesn't matter, and that I'm giving him this, that the debt of the shtar is also his, and then I give it to him. What happens if I only write that the debt in this shtar I'm giving Michael, but I write it on a different shtar and I give it to Michael? Would it then work?
No.
No. I have to do both. You're right. I have to give him the shtar and write to him separately or on the shtar that I'm giving him the shtar. Why? How?
Because you can still go collect.
Sorry?
If you still have the original shtar, you can still go collect.
So you're saying it's just in order to make sure that I won't go and collect. So you know what? No, I can't, because if I tore it, then it's gone.
A different question. What if he had an editor not to have an off from him, and you're giving him the shtar, leaves it out in the cold?
That's a good question. Well, if we'll try to answer that, we won't get out of here tonight. We have to go to sleep at some point. So, but
I did that also.
Yes. Okay. So now that is what I want to do. So we're not going to do all the Mekorot that I gave out, but this is something that I want to do. So Tanya.
Now you're starting this year?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So says the Gemara in Bava Batra Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. Yeah, that is on the left column under the title Gufo Shel Shtar V'Tzipuro. Yeah, that means the body of a document and its story. So the body, if you're right, the title of the shiur was the soul of a shtar. Now you understand why a shtar has a soul, right? The body is the piece of paper, right? But the soul is the story it contains, that magical element. So the Tanya, אותיות נקנות במסירה דברי רבי. והחכמים אומרים, בין כתב ולא מסר, בין מסר ולא כתב, לא קנה. Ad שיכתוב וימסור. That is what I said now. Rebbe says, אותיות נקנות במסירה. When I hand the document, whatever it contains moves on. Whether I gave an example of a debt, but it could also be something that karka, yes, whatever it is. I have Elon sold me land, so I hold the deed of sale, and now I hand it to Michael. Michael now owes the land, even though it has my name in it, because I handed it to him, and it's his now, according to Rebbe. According to Chachamim, no, doesn't work like that. I need to hand him the shtar, but also write. Okay. So Tosfot is trying to understand what's this all about. So Tosfot say two things. They say, just a minute. First of all, this Mesirah, even the one that Rebbe is talking about, this is not an ordinary kinyan. Usually, what kinyan we have in movables? Did you ever hear of kinyan Mesirah? There is such a kinyan, but only in very heavy objects that is difficult to move. For instance, a ship. Moving a ship, according to some opinions, there's a machloket tanaim, but moving a ship is very difficult. So what do? Well, you tie a ship to the thing, right? So I untie it, I take the rope, and I give it to my friend. By that, I'm handing him over the ship, because he can't now move the ship, it's very heavy, but I'm handing it to him, and by that, or let's say a stubborn animal that, I'll start pulling, I give him the leash, he's holding on to it, well, it's now his. The animal is his. But that is only with big elements, with animals. If I want to, for instance, make this be yours, I want to give it to you, then handing it over is not enough. If you do this, and I put it in your hand, didn't make it yours, it's not Mesirah that way. What do you have to do? Exactly, you have to lift it. You have to lift it, or pull it, meshicha, hagvaha.
It doesn't have to be that you lift, you can lift something else. Like
that is Chalipin or Suda, that is a different type of kinyan. But here, Tosfot says, kinyan Mesirah usually doesn't work. So why with this document, the Gemara is talking about Mesirah? What's this thing all about? So says Tosfot, no, you have to understand. We're not talking about the ordinary kinyan meshicha here. We are talking, that is exactly what Rebbe says, Otiyot niknot b'msirah. It's not that I gave you the document and now you did hagba, and since you now own the document, you own the story. No, says Tosfot. If you understood Rebbe like that, that's how we just understood it, and that is how Rashbam understands him, by the way. Tosfot says, no, that's a mistake. That's not what he means. What he means is something else. Handing over. Why handing over? Because, says Tosfot, if I'm giving him a debt, then how do I give a debt? Giving over a debt, meaning it is something that requires dat hamitchayev. Meaning, if I just, let's say there was no Mesirah, it's on the table and I say take it. Then here, I'm passive in this kinyan. You are the only active one. That's not enough, says Tosfot, in order to have a virtual asset of mine move towards you. A virtual asset, such as debt, or even an established asset, but which is virtual in terms of the shtar, because it's not connected to the shtar physically, so it's connected to a house, to a field. In order for me to make that move to you, I have to hand you the shtar. I'm also active in this kinyan, and that, says Tosfot, that gives us what is called dat hamitchayev. So Tosfot says at the very bottom, mishum de be'inan mesira miyad liyad. Kedei liknot hashiabud betocho, meaning he says, similar, now that is how he explains Rebbe.
How much action is required.
Exactly. Now, says Tosfot, the same thing goes with Chachamim. Why do Chachamim say you need to write a separate shtar? How does that work? It says you need to be active. In order to move a story on, you have to write, you write a story, and by that you move, meaning you continue the story in a way, right? The story began with the first shtar, and now you're continuing it by writing it, by continuing, now you're in the story, you can give it over, something like that, okay? So that is what Chachamim say. So Rebbe says it's enough for me to give it to you by showing, by indicating that I'm giving it to you, by handing it over, I'm handing you the story. by both of us participating in the kinyan. And Chachamim say, no, I have to go a step forward. It's not enough just to participate in the kinyan. I have to continue writing the story in some way. Mishum de be'inan da'at acheret makna otan. We need the mind behind it to make the kinyan. Okay. Now we have another halacha that makes it a bit more complicated. What happened? Okay, there's a similar story with if I gift something to someone and he gives it back to me, the shtar, then the gift goes back to me. Okay, that works similarly. We could see it as the same machloket, we could see it as different. We won't get into that now. But there is another question about Toda. Okay, so I'll you know what? Let's wrap it up before we see the other things. Let's go to the very end. It would be nice if we would see some other things, but we could go to the on the not the second page on the right hand side at the bottom. Shiurim lezecher Abba Mari. Yes, that is Rav Soloveitchik in a series of shiurim that he gave his Yortzeit shiurim. So one year he gave it on Otiyot Niknot B'Msira, and there, after a long shiur and going through various Okay, Rav Soloveitchik reaches a conclusion that many of these sugyot, including what we saw right now, could be a manifestation of these two aspects of the shtar that we spoke about at the very beginning, including otiyot niknot b'msira. The question is, what is important in the shtar? How important, or what is a more important aspect in the shtar? The story that the shtar says, or the one that is holding the shtar, proving what happened, or making us assume what happened. There is another machloket that I mentioned, Edei Chatima or Edei Mesirat. What is that about? Why does Rab Meir say the Eidim need to sign the shtar? So Reb Chaim Brisker, the grandfather of Rav Soloveitchik, says, well, Rab Meir holds that whatever story the document tells me, it has to be documented in the document. It's not only surrounding the document, any element that has to do with that document also has to be written. So I have to have the Eidim written in the document. Okay. As opposed to Rabbi Elazar, who says, no, the document tells me a story by the very fact that it is held by this person. That's part of the story. And the Eidim were there, and if I locate them, they'll come and they'll verify it. But that doesn't have to be in the shtar itself. Meaning the shtar tells me some things that are not written in it. There is that other element of who's holding on to it. Now, in Otiyot Niknot B'Msira, we have the same thing, because when I gave Michael the shtar, then just a minute, my name is on the shtar, right? So the shtar is telling me one story, but the holding of the shtar tells me another story. So what story is it? Does Ilan owe me money or does he owe Michael money? So if I say the story has to be contained in what is written in the shtar, then that is very important. I can't just hand it over. I need to supplement it with another shtar or add on to that shtar that now it is Michael's. And now it's fine, because now the shtar tells me that story and it could still operate as a shtar. But if it's not so, then I'm not. So what we have here are two basic understandings, and according to this we can understand many machlokot, that we went only through two, but there are many machlokot pertaining to shtar. What is this? How does the magic of the shtar work? Is it a story that it tells us that is written in it, and that is mainly the story, or is it its possession where it is, and other elements that also are part of the story? Well, thank you. Laila Tov.